Let's bring in our next guest. Meltem Demirors is Coinshares Chief Strategy Officer, actually spent some of her childhood growing up in Turkey. So may give us some insight on this. Meltem, great to have you with us.
Thanks so much for having me today.
Why do you think that Bitcoin has not been viewed as any sort of a store of value in this period of time?
So I think the hard part about Bitcoin, as BK just alluded to, is the narrative around Bitcoin is still really hard to grasp. And I think the crypto community is really struggling with narrative right now. If we look at what institutional investors are looking for, even retail investors, what is the narrative? Really, the only metric we have for most cryptocurrencies is the price. And price is such an imperfect metric. What does actual utilization look like? That's really the struggle for crypto right now.
So if you tell me, if we changed Bitcoin out and we said it was a stock, and you said the narrative is unclear right now, I would say, why the heck would I want to be in that stock? Why would I want to buy it? Sure. So I pose a question to you. Why would I want to buy Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency if the narrative is so hard to pin down?
Sure, but let's go back to, again, I think the analogy everyone uses, because it's an analogy that makes sense, is 1999 and the internet stocks, right? So if we look at Amazon at its peak, it took 9 years to recover from peak trough back to peak, right? So you had to be in Amazon for 9 years to recover your value. If we look at Intel, right, 15 years. Microsoft, 17 years. New technologies that shift the paradigm take a long time to really understand. And I think what we saw in crypto is we saw this massive run up where everyone got FOMO, or fear of missing out, as we like to say. And what it caused was this speculative bubble. And we've talked about bubbles and capital formation a lot. But all of that capital is now getting deployed into building real businesses that serve a real purpose. And so I think, again, it's a story that's going to take some time. We're experimenting with that narrative, but we're starting to see real traction. A lot of it's really dependent on finding those data points, those metrics that are going to drive that growth story. But again, I don't think this is new. We've seen this time and time again. Anytime there's new technology that we're really trying to understand and bring into the market, it's just a question of finding the right data points, getting that message out there, and really telling that growth story to investors who are looking for value and growth.
So what are some of those metrics? Is it how much is traded? If you don't like price, if you don't want to focus on that, what are some of the other metrics to look at?
Absolutely. So I think two startup metrics that are really common, and again, I compare this to early stage investing, which is my background. So two analogies might be the total addressable market and the penetration rate of that market. So again, if Bitcoin's a store of value, the total addressable market theoretically is huge, right? You have M1, M2, gold potentially as an analog. So how much of that market have we captured? If we're looking at Ethereum, maybe the total addressable market is the market for compute capacity, right? Cloud compute capacity. There are a lot of different analogs. So TAM, or total addressable market, is one. The second we could look at is users, right? So what are the number of people who are actually using these assets on a day-to-day basis or month-to-month basis, from speculation to specific utility? And that, I think, again, a lot of this technology is really immature. It's hard to use. The apps are really clunky. And so we're not seeing those numbers today.
So, Meltem, what about Ethereum? Horrible day today. Maybe some ICO people puking out on this. But if there's going to be use cases, right, something like a smart contract platform like Ethereum seems to me that should have more value maybe than something like a currency. Where do you stand on Ethereum and what happened today?
Sure. So, look, Ethereum, I think, is one of these assets that's really interesting to look at. So it's down today 78% from its all-time high. What was interesting is earlier today I was looking at it. This day last year, if you would have bought Ethereum, today, you're at break even, right? You've made no money, but you've lost no money. So that's an interesting milestone for Ethereum. So I think what's going on here is Ethereum started with this narrative of being a decentralized computer. It shifted over to smart contracts when enterprises started getting more interested in this technology. And then it became a substrate for people to raise ICOs, or to raise money with. What we're seeing now is a lot of these ICOs that have raised capital have done so using Ethereum or Bitcoin. So they hold a lot of Ether in their treasuries. When the price was at 1,200, everyone was feeling really good. They had a long capital runway. Now the price is at 300. People aren't feeling so great. What I've been focused on is treasury management for crypto firms, really helping them maintain, preserve, and also extend their capital runway. So again, if the narrative is it's going to take 5, 9, 15, 17 years, like some of the large internet stocks, for these things to really start to grow and to start to capture some of that value out there, let's make sure these projects have capital. I think this is really what our ecosystem is struggling with. How do we allocate out of ETH and into other assets that preserve value long term? And what should those be?
Meltem, thanks for joining us.
Thank you
Appreciate it.
for
Meltem
having me.
Demirors of Coinshares. Just quickly here, we were talking, Meltem made the point of internet stocks. This is a show called Fast Money. We like to talk about faster trades, and there's an opportunity cost of locking up capital in any sort of asset for that amount of time.
Right.
So if we are to believe that it's a 5, 9, 10, 12-year time horizon, do you put $1 in right now?
I do, and I think the reason why is because you've got the utilization, you've got the investment side of it with the hedge funds, and the ability for Wall Street money to really come into this trade. And I think we're on the cusp of that. So I look at the meetings that we have at Cowen. I mean, we're meeting with a ton of hedge funds right now that are really interested in diving into this space and investing in this space, but they just don't have the custody solutions that warrant it for them. So once that money comes in, I think that's where you get the liftoff.